Hey everybody, Steven Smotherman here from fulltimefba.com, and I'm excited to show you a webinar that we just recorded focused on Inventory Lab 101. Now, if you don't know what Inventory Lab is a tool that you can use online to process your inventory to send to Amazon. But it's so much more than that. It is an all-in-one inventory management solution. It helps you with listing your inventory to Amazon. It helps you with pricing the right way so that you make more money. It helps you with knowing your numbers, knowing your profit, your loss. All your accounting needs are met with Inventory Lab, and Inventory Lab also comes with the sourcing app Scoutify, and Scoutify is the retail arbitrage sourcing app that you use on your phone that you are able to scan a barcode of an item, and like that, it gives you the information of that items on Amazon, what other people are selling it for, how much profit you can make from it after Amazon fees. Yes, it crunches those numbers for you and shows you so much more. So I'm going to show you this webinar. It's Kim from Inventory Lab and Jeff from Inventory Lab. And Kim's going to walk you through a little bit of what Scoutify offers and then moves into what Inventory Lab offers. After the content is over, we open up to some Q&A where there's a lot of really great questions about Inventory Lab and Scoutify and how it can help your Amazon business make more money, save lots of time. So without further ado, this is the webinar we filmed very recently with Kim and Jeff from Inventory Lab, and me, I'm there too, and we will help you. It will just open up so much information for you. So take some time to watch this and learn and take action. All right, here we go.
Okay, so we're going to kind of do a walkthrough of Inventory Lab and actually the entire product life cycle. So everything from sourcing inventory, listing inventory, inventory management, accounting, and then really wanting to get you to reports. So we are going to start with Scoutify. So with Inventory Lab comes bundled your Scoutify mobile app. So this is your mobile resource tool. It's available, of course, for download in the App Store. And when we scan a barcode with Scoutify, this is what we see. This is actually one of my favorite products. I use it in almost every webinar, the Ewok costume. And what I first want to draw your attention to is that little green thumbs up flag that you see at the top. I'm going to shake my cursor around because I know it's kind of hard to track a cursor. So if you see me wiggling it around, that's why that is. But this little green thumbs up is telling me that this item meets my definition of an ideal buy. So in my settings of Scoutify, there are all types of different parameters that I can set that, whatever my definition of an ideal buy is. When I'm scanning, with that little green flag that pops up tells me that it meets then that criteria. We then have, of course, the ASIN. And then we see the target buy cost right here. This is actually one of my favorite parts of, this is the Scoutify 2. This is a more updated version of the original Scoutify, but the target buy cost. So back in those settings, you are able to set also your desired ROI percentage. So if you are working with a goal of at least a 40% ROI or 50% ROI, you're able to plug that in. As you're scanning, as you're researching, that target buy cost is telling you that you need to be able to purchase that product for that amount or less to meet that desired ROI percentage. And having that information up front is really, I found very, very helpful. You then see in the green, right below that photo there, the sales rank. It shows 16,310 out of about 1.3 million. What some folks don't know, if you do tap the number 16,310, it'll turn that into a percentage. So if you're somebody that specifically likes to only source inventory in the top 3% or 5% of a category, that's going to really be important to you. You then have the number on hand. So we can see that I don't currently have this product on hand in my inventory, but if I did, I would be able to see the quantity that I currently have on hand. I could also tap history right here to see my sales history for this ASIN. Not everybody else's sales history, but my actual sales history. You have then to the right the weight for this product. But just like the sales rank, if you tap that, you can also see the size tier, which is, for some folks, depending on what you're selling, is very important information, of course. You're able to tap cost per unit, plug in your cost per unit. You have the opportunity to put in a sales tax percentage to be applied each time, estimated shipping, All of that can be accounted for to really give you some really good profitability data. I'm actually going to skip forward to show what that looks like right here. So like a nice visual detailed breakdown of the income and the fees assessed with this particular sale. I do want to draw your attention to the add button, this little green add button at the bottom right-hand corner. It's on the front screen right here as well. When you're sourcing inventory, if you find something, you're like, okay, this meets my criteria of an ideal buy, this is my desired ROI percentage, I'm going to be purchasing some quantities, tap the add button and add it to your buy list. Originally, you could have one active buy list, but now you can actually have multiple active buy lists. So we have folks they have buy lists for different suppliers that they're sending team members out to source from, or maybe a different buy list for each team member. Whatever you need it to be, you can have these active buy lists where you're adding items to that. Later on, you're able to import that buy list and use it to list in bulk, which is such a huge time saver, especially for a big amount of workflows, like the common workflow. It's a huge time saver. That research button that you see brings up all of these deep, just really great integrated tools. So you have Book Scouter, Kiba, Camel, Prime Comparison, the Amazon restrictions tool. I can't remember if I said eBay or not, but that's all under that research button as well. And then actually, I should say my actual favorite part is the scan button. It is located down here at the bottom center. And for us left-handed folks, that's a bit luxurious for us. So I do appreciate that location. So again, here's that detailed breakdown, just a nice visual of the profitability for an item. So your goal at this point is to get a nice ballpark idea of what you can anticipate net profit to be. You want to have that now to make the informed decision before purchasing. Here's just a really quick shot of some of the settings that you're able to customize. And really, we're looking to customize things for your business. So when you're going into your settings, not just in Scoutify, but also in InventoryLab, all of these settings are for you to make changes in it so that it works better for you. So it's not just a cookie cutter type of tool. You want it to work for you. So I'm going to hop out of the slide deck now. We were just talking a little bit ago that I don't really use this anymore because it's somewhat outdated. So we're going to hop into a live account. This is our colleague Abigail's account. She's not really a seller, so we're able to kind of go in here and attempt to break things. But if Scoutify is your mobile research tool, Scout is your web-based research tool. I'm going to pull that up right here. And I'm actually going to ask Stephen to kind of jump into this conversation. I always defer to him when it comes to Kiba graphs and camel. And what we have done actually recently is added those tools directly into Scout. So you're able to search by ASIN, UPC, ISBN, or title. If you have a barcode scanner, you can scan a UPC or an ISBN code in as well. Not an expensive one, not one that you pair with your phone, but just like the $20 one that you could pick up actually right on Amazon. But I'm going to plug in an ASIN right here. And so at this point, we're still researching the profitability for an item. So I plugged in the ASIN. We're able to see a nice detailed breakdown specific to this ASIN. We have the title right up here at the top. We can actually click that. It would take us to the product detail page on Amazon. We have the rank, the category, the size tier, and the prep type. So if this requires something like polybagging, that would appear there. And in the center, we have the Amazon fees assessed with this. So this is going to be like the pick and pack fees, fulfillment fees, and such. And then to the right, just like in Scoutify, we have shipping and taxes. So you would set right here just what you would estimate shipping to be to add this item to an FBA shipment. Folks usually put this somewhere between 30 cents and $1 per pound. And then sales tax, if you're paying sales tax when purchasing inventory, you can plug that percentage in here. It will be there each time, so you don't need to do that every time. But at this point, just like Scoutify, it doesn't really seem like these amount to much, but this is where you want to pull all of that data together. This is where that informed decision takes place. But below here, we do have the Kiba price history graph. And we've also added this projected storage fees tool down here, or I shouldn't say tool, but graph. specifically because, that's really a big factor now in profitability. So what we have done is built in the opportunity to see how your profit changes over time as those storage fees are applied. So let's go back up here to the Kiba graph. So what's your take on this one, Stephen?
Well, if I'm looking on that at this particular item, I see the sales rank dips down dramatically 2 times. So that looks like, let me put my glasses on because I'm old. That's the last 3 months. So for the last 3 months, it looks like this item is sold twice. But I can also see that it only has the new price listed for a very short time. So it also shows me that this item has been not for sale for a while. So, I can see that when it is listed, there are some sales, but the rest of the time there are no sales, but it might be because it might not be in stock. So it's a pretty interesting case to decide on if I want to buy this or not. I'd probably buy it and test it out just to see if I can sell it, and then go buy some more if I'm able to continue to find it.
I can say I actually have a history with banana nut Cheerios.
Mm-hmm.
I found them on a shelf in Ollie's a long time ago, and they were $1.99 each. It looked very similar to the sales rank chart did to this. And I cleared the shelf and I sold them, I think it was like $19.99, and they sold very, very quickly. So if anybody does see these, I'd be interested to know if they do add them to their inventory, how they do. But I thought that was an interesting graph. Like, okay, I'm going to have Stephen take a look at this analysis.
Yes.
So everything to the right. So if you're not really familiar with
can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
I love the whole projected storage fees thing, because there's a lot of time where people say, I bought this at one price and I'm going to sell it at this price, and they have no idea the ROI that's being eaten away each month. That they're like, I want to try to get a certain price to sell it at, but if they see that they're not selling it, they might not realize that they've already broken even if they sell it at their original price that they want to sell it for. If they wait like 6 or 7 months, they're going to be breaking even and missing out on a lot of stuff. So it helps you also when it comes to repricing later and in the future, and even setting your price up the right time in the first place. And so I love having that all in one place when I am listing my stuff on Amazon. So I'm excited that that's there.
Yeah, and also kind of determining what quantity you're going to buy originally. If you're going to look up here at Kiba and see, okay, this is how many sell, within a certain period of time, and you're able to compare that to the data down here, maybe you only want to purchase 30 days worth of inventory if you're able to. Of course, there is the recent announcement that Amazon's going to be changing their storage fees effective, I believe it's January 19th. And then another set of fees is going to be different January 22nd. We are already in the works of putting that in place now, because of course this data is showing data in the future. So we want that to be accurate. So that's going to be completely updated and accurate per Amazon's new storage fee structure.
And that's pretty awesome that y'all do that, and you're so quick to make sure that that's accurate. And for any of you who are watching the webinar right now and you have some questions that are popping in your head, go ahead and put that in the questions section on the webinar control panel, because at the end we'll come back and answer those questions. We'll be doing a giveaway. We'll be talking about an awesome special bonus for InventoryLab, and so stay tuned for that, but be sure you put those in the questions so that we can answer. We don't want you to forget later, what was I going to ask? Go ahead and ask now, and we can come back to those later.
Yes, absolutely. Is it okay if I have my webcam on, Stephen, or do you want us to turn those off?
I guess we can, to be able to see it better, we can turn it off for now, and we can come back later, and that'll be fun.
There we go. Okay. So Stephen had kind of mentioned that he said that there are currently no offers for this item, and maybe he had seen that on the Kiba graph. Also in InventoryLab, if we look over to the right, we're able to see what's currently going on with this item. And at that very top, we're able to see that there are currently 0 offers for this item on Amazon. I'm actually going to grab a different ASIN here just so you can see something with a little bit more activity. But I did want to get Stephen's take on that one. There we go. So here's a different item. I plugged in an ASIN, and I'm going to go right over to the right-hand side, and we can see that there are currently 7 offers for this product on Amazon. And then we see 5 list prices here. So why don't we see 7 list prices? That is because Amazon only shares with us the offers they consider to be competitive. So that's what we're seeing here. But we also see a lot of other little things kind of going on. For example, we see a little O right here and a little A right here. And if we look down at the key, we can see that the O means that that is currently the list price that has the buy box, and the A says that this merchant is likely Amazon. So this is kind of unusual because usually if there's an A, it's usually right next to the little O because Amazon always has the buy box, it seems like. So very interesting that that is not the case here. And then to the right of those list prices, we see an N, an LN, and a VG. These are condition identifiers, new, like new, and very good. So when you're researching the items that you're maybe looking to sell, you're able to see, okay, where do my items fall and what's currently available? So again, just helping you make those informed decisions. Below the key, we have those same tools that we saw available in Scoutify. So Bookkeeper, eBay, BookScouter, eBay, Google, Camel, Kiba, Prime Comparison, and the Amazon restrictions tool. And then below, we have cost per unit. So we could plug in our cost per unit right there. So let's say our cost per unit is $9 each. I have my settings in here to have the list price automatically populated with the current buy box list price. So that's there, but I could change that if I wanted to. And then I'm able to see that net profit and that ROI percentage right down there. But again, if I'm somebody that says, well, I don't really kind of mess around with anything that's less than let's say 90% ROI, let's change that to see what our numbers would need to be. It's just kind of like playing around with that. So if we wanted to meet 90% ROI, our list price would need to be $28.54. So just kind of really making sure that you're looking at things through the lens of your business, not necessarily, 83% ROI is not too shabby either. But if you're tried and true to 90% ROI, this is going to show you what you need to do to meet that criteria. So we're going to move over on to list at this point. So we've now sourced our inventory. We've used Scout or we've used Scoutify, and we're going to go into listing. So at the top, we have a list tab, and here's our list and prep page, and this is where everything begins. It's a nice clean screen. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on. I was actually testing out some things really quick, so I'm actually going to close that so we can have it nice and clean. There we are. So first, I do want to point out that in InventoryLab, you are going to be working in batches. So what does that mean? We kind of like to use the metaphor that a batch is like a shopping cart, kind of like when you go to the grocery store, you get a cart, you go into the store and you whatever you want, you put it in your cart, maybe you put some things back, whatever the case may be. But it really is a really nice way to keep, just large quantities of items and grouped together and more organized, nice and clean. So everything always starts with starting a new batch. That's always the first step. So we have a batch name. It's the date and time. I could change it and name it whatever I'd like it to, or like it to be. If I was going to be importing a buy list from Scoutify or my own customized buy list, I would do that right here. Here is my ship from address. And am I going to be listing individual products or case packed products? Am I listing this to my FBA inventory or my merchant fulfilled? And then the workflow type. So am I listing this in a private batch or a live batch? So we can talk about that a little bit later because that's usually one of the big questions. Which workflow type should I choose? There is a little link here, but there are one major differentiating factor between those, and we can talk about those in a little bit. But if you're brand new, we always suggest a private batch. It's just like a nice guided step-by-step process through listing. Then we have the labeling preferences, if I'm going to label them or if I'm going to have Amazon label them for me. And do I want to include box content in my workflow? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. And you see here, minimum and maximum price preferences. So this is saying, do I want to enter my min and max prices? Do I want to enter my min and max prices and send them to Amazon? Or do I want to enter my min and max prices and not send them to Amazon, but I do want to save them in InventoryLab? So we'll talk about why you might want to do one over the other in just a second, but I'm going to save those to InventoryLab. And then because I have box contents on, they're asking me, is this going to be a small parcel delivery or less than truckload shipment method? So LTL is if you're going to be shipping 200 boxes or more, or like a pallet, and small parcel delivery is anything less than that. So of course, I'm going to choose small parcel delivery, and I'm going to create that batch. So here's my shopping cart. And now we're ready to add items to that shopping cart. It's all going to go to the top right-hand corner, just like we saw in Scout. ASIN, UPC, ISBN, or title. I'm going to plug in actually that same ASIN. And this is actually an existing MSKU. We'll come back to that in just a second. But if you're going to be replenishing items, that'll be something that you want to keep an eye on. Let me just try this. You can tell that we use Abigail's account pretty often because all of my items are now showing up as ones that we've used in the past. Let me just find a brand new one here. Let's see. And then if it does it again, then we'll just pretend that it's not a replenish. There we go. So I plugged in the ASIN. We can see, just like Scout, we can see the title, the rank, the category, and the size tier, the prep type all up here at the top. We have the reminder field. If we want to send ourselves a reminder about this product, we could choose the date that we want to receive that reminder and plug that little message in here. Back in the day, folks would use that for expiration date purposes, but that's not necessary anymore because we built that in. We have tax code. So if Amazon is collecting sales tax on your behalf, you've already set that tax code in Seller Central, you would want to choose the corresponding tax code here. But this, again, is one of those fields that you can have customized to have this populated for you automatically, so you're not doing it over and over and over again. And then with Amazon asking for the dangerous materials information, we have now the option to say, does this item have a battery? Is it regulated? Of course, the answer is no. The quantity, so let's say we have 15. And what did we pay for these things? Let's say we paid $7. Let's choose our date. We bought them earlier this month. And what was our supplier? If this did have an expiration date, I could actually add that right here. And I would receive a reminder well in advance of that expiration date, letting me know that I needed to remove that item from my inventory. And then we have MSKU. So this, of course, is your merchant stock keeping unit. This is going to match your SKU in Seller Central. So you have some options. InventoryLab can create this unique MSKU for you automatically, and that's what you're seeing here. But we also have custom MSKU tools. We did find from our users that they wanted the opportunity to build these custom MSKUs for bookkeeping purposes. So if they, for example, if they have a team of folks that are outsourcing inventory for them, and their name is Kim and they're sourcing from a certain store at a certain date and time, or maybe they want the ASIN built into it to a MSKU or a location, whatever the case may be, they wanted the opportunity to do that. So you can also turn on the custom MSKU tool and have your MSKU unique and built for you every time with the information that you want included in there. Of course, we have the condition. If this was anything other than new condition, we could also add our condition notes here. Lots of tools to automate that process for you as well. And everything over to the right is, again, just like Scout, letting us know like what's going on with this item currently on Amazon. We can see the number of offers. We can see the current list prices. Here we are with that little O and A next to each other. That's the buy box list price, and the merchant is likely to be Amazon. And again, just like Scout, we can see some nice detailed information down here with the exception of, or the addition of, min and max price. So what is that about? If you take advantage of Amazon's repricing tools that are built in, you can have that information, that data sent along with the rest of the details about the batch, sent to Amazon automatically. So we found from our customers that it's easier to set the list price at this point in the workflow, as opposed to doing all of this right now and then setting a min and max price later on down the road. So while you're setting your list price, getting that min and max taken care of is very useful. So if I have my list price here, and here's my min and max, I could do that manually. I could plug something in if I wanted to, or I could automate that. So here's our auto price rules. I can have my minimum price to be 10% lower than the list price, or 10% than the ROI or the profit margin. Lots of different options to set here, as well as down here. A lot of folks that do use minimum and maximum prices, they usually set the same parameter for everything. So we made sure we built that in so that you didn't have to manually adjust those. But looking down at that very bottom, that ROI percentage, if you needed to change that, if like, well, I need it to be 110% ROI, you can plug that in, your minimum price, your maximum price, your list price. That's all going to change for you. It's all going to adjust according to your parameters for that ROI. And now I would click add to batch. So I'm putting it in my shopping cart. And this is the moment that my 15 barcode labels would print for me. And that is a big differentiating factor from Seller Central, where of course you list everything and then you create shipments and then you print labels off on your 30 up sheet and then you go back and you match it all up to your products. In Inventory Lab, as you're listing each item, you're printing those labels out. Experience the difference between 30 up labels and printing on a thermal label printer. It's just really huge. The difference is very, very big. I'm going to grab another ASIN here, kind of going back to what would happen if I'm listing an item that's already in my inventory. So if I have a replenishment, there we are. So I plugged in this ASIN and Inventory Lab is saying, hey, this MSKU already exists in your inventory. Do you want to use the same MSKU? And of course, if this is the same item, same condition, same color, same size, I do, because this is a replenishment. I don't want to create a new MSKU because then I'd have multiple listings on the same ASIN. So let's use that same MSKU. I'm going to plug in my quantity of 20. I'm going to say my cost per unit is a little bit less this time around. It was $6 and not $7. And I purchased it on a slightly different date from the same place. All my list price information is the same, add to batch, and my 20 labels print. So I could go on and on and on, listing whatever I wanted to list to this batch. So we're going to say that I've listed everything that I want to list for today, and I'm going to move forward in the process. Stephen, is there anything that I should touch on before moving on?
I think you're doing a really great job, and I too can just testify that right after you enter in the stuff, the printing labels part, you just kind of say it, and for some people it might just seem like an afterthought. Oh, and then the 20 labels print out. But I just can't tell you how much time I've saved, because when I went to sourcing or when I went to listing through Seller Central, I'd make the batch and then I'd have all my, then when the whole batch was done, I'd print out the labels, and then I would have to go find those items to put the labels on them. And sometimes, like if I'm trying to find a toy that has the same character, but it's a different variation of the little character toy. It's like, oh wait, was this the Curious George, plush monkey, or was this the Curious George plush monkey with a red hat, or is this the Curious George plush monkey with the yellow hat? And sometimes I might put things on the wrong one, but you know what? If I am listing it and I immediately get those stickers printed out from my Dymo, right after I listed it, my items are right there, so I can just put the stickers on right then, and I'm touching those items one last time. And you might not think it's a big deal, but that adds up to hours and hours saved every week, and it's amazing.
I think I had a very similar experience. The first time that I created shipments in Seller Central, that whole period of time, it was 16 hours, and I was reduced to tears. I had sourced these foreign language books from a company that had gone under. And I mean, serious foreign language books, like books about business. And it was German and every different language you could possibly think of. And 16 hours later, and I almost gave up just thinking, who do I think I am starting a business? But I remember the first time I listed in InventoryLab and that little label came out, I was like, oh, this is so luxurious. This is amazing. But it is very quick. I know I kind of went step by step when you're listing an item, but it is very much plug in the ASIN, plug in your quantity, your date purchased, your supplier, your list price, mess around with that a little bit so it fits your business, add to batch, move on. It's very, very quick. So we're going to say that these are our two items that we're going to be listing, and I'm going to click that review batch button down there at the bottom. So this is just really another opportunity. Folks wanted just kind of like a stopgap to give another opportunity, just to look over things. Is it, is the quantity correct? Do I need to change anything before I move forward? Do I want to add any notes? Just another opportunity. But we're going to say everything is looking good. I'm going to click submit. So InventoryLab is saying, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to transmit all this information to Amazon, and your next step is going to be creating those FBA shipments. Are you ready to move forward? So one of the reasons that they confirm that is that is the one point when you're creating FBA shipments. That's the one point that you do, it's a limited amount of time. Everything else, put your feet up, come back a week later if you want to, but you have a short period of time, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm ready to move on and create those shipments. So here we are, and we can see right up here The plan is going to expire in 48 hours. What does that mean? So now that that data has been sent to Amazon, Amazon has come back and said, okay, Kim, we want you to send, and as luck would have it, because Abigail somehow gets everything routed to only one fulfillment center, they're saying, we want you to send everything to AVP1. So if I don't come back for 48 hours, Amazon's likely going to want to route that to another fulfillment center. So the world's not going to end after 48 hours, but the fulfillment centers will likely change. So at this point, you would have, I mean, I know when I list anything, it's multiple fulfillment centers, and they each occupy a row up here, but here we have Abigail only has one. So what we would do at this point is choose to either create or decline this shipment. And this is a game changer too for a lot of folks. This is where you get a lot of flexibility. So when we're on this page, these are the proposed FBA shipment plans from Amazon. And we have a choice. We can choose to create it, or as the case is usually for me, I'll have, a decent shipment to AVP1 with 35, a quantity of 35, and then I might have a second shipment and it has a quantity of like 2. And it's not cost effective for me to send that shipment. So with InventoryLab, I can actually just say decline and not mess around with that one at all. But we're going to choose, of course, to create. So if I click that right there, I can then confirm, yes, I do in fact want to create that. When I do click that, I want you to look down here to the working shipments window, because when I say yes, create, that's now going to take that from a proposed shipment plan to now a working shipment. So I'm going to say yes. And there we have it down there as the working shipment. And we see some things that have changed on this page as well. Everything kind of shifted over to the right down here. And we see quantity and a little trash can. Even though these shipments have been created, we can still make changes. And actually, this isn't the only place that we can make changes. So we could change the quantity if we wanted to. It would have to be within Amazon's parameters. So that would be 5% or a quantity of 10 in either direction. If I try to do more than that, InventoryLab would pop up a little message and say, well, you can only change it between this number and this number. So it kind of makes sure that I don't get in trouble for anything. Or I could delete this out of the shipment entirely. That's my other option. So I can't reduce it or increase it beyond the guidelines, but I can take it out entirely if I want to. So we're going to say, okay, everything's looking good. We've created that shipment, and now we're able to move forward to that box content stage. So this kind of is set up a little bit like the FBA shipments page. We have that shipment right up here. All of our items that are included in this shipment appear below, but we have this new tool popping up over here. We can see that we have a box that has already been started for us. It ends in 001. It's really like a long, drawn out, weird code kind of a thing ending in 001, but it's actually going to match the box name that appears under the barcode label. Oh, perfect. Under the barcode label of your shipping label in Seller Central. So it's going to help you kind of match up what goes on what box. Jeff and I redo all the webinars, and we usually try to list products that we know Abigail's not authorized to sell, so that we can get these things to actually pop up. So I'm happy to see this. So remember when I said, yes, I'm ready to create FBA shipments, when InventoryLab was saying, okay, well, we're going to send that data. That data went to Amazon, and now Amazon has come back along with telling us where they want us to route everything, but also telling us like, hey, there's an issue. This MSKU right here, the merchant is not authorized to sell those products in that category, or it's restricted by the company for whatever reason. So we would be able to then take that out of our shipment, of course. I'm going to X off of that. So this is the MSKU ending in 554. So we'd be able to find out what that is, and we would be able to take that right out of our shipment by clicking the trash can. A long time ago, people would have no idea if they were restricted from something until it got to the fulfillment center and ended up in their stranded inventory, and they'd have to have it sent back. So it's really difficult. So we were really excited to be able to work with Amazon to get that information more earlier in the process. But we're going to pretend that Abigail is able to sell all of these products, and we're going to move forward. But we have our box ending in 001. And here we can see we've got a quantity of 20. And we have a little gray toggle here. So let's click that toggle. And there's that long box name ending in 001. Here's our quantity. So we're going to say that all 20 will fit in this box ending in 001. We're going to click assign. And we can do the same thing here. If it's going to fit in box 001, we can do that. If not, we can start another box. We can start as many boxes as we want to. We can move things around. There's really not a whole lot we can't do here. And that's doing it manually. If I have a barcode scanner, I can scan my FNSKU barcode labels to check things into boxes as well. So lots of different options you have here. You can, again, you're still able to change those quantities. You're still able to delete things from shipments, and then transmitting your box content information, which I'm actually going to do. So I've now sent that information, and what InventoryLab is saying is like, okay, like hang out for a second, because we're going to validate all of this with Amazon first. So you can do whatever you want to do. You can go list some other things or check out your accounting, whatever you would like. But we're just going to do some other things, and we'll wait for that message to come back from them. Okay. So are there any questions that are listing specific? Everything else after that, I'm going to actually jump into my account, but I'll answer any listing questions that we have from Abigail's.
I've gone through and finding some. Someone says, what if I purchase a larger quantity of items and plan on shipping to Amazon at one time? Sometimes I hold some items back and wait for the first ones to sell before sending in the rest of the units, so as to defer Amazon storage costs.
Sure.
And so that's what that one person was asking. And yeah, if you do that, then you would just list the items that you want to send in and save the rest for label later.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's really smart to hold some back so that you're not going to get stuck with those storage fees. So you would send in the original quantity, and then when you're ready to send in, some additional quantities, when you start a new batch, when you plug that ASIN in, that's when you're going to get that little window that pops up that says, hey, this already exists in your inventory. Do you want to use the same MSKU? And of course, since it's a replenishment, you want to use that exact same MSKU. Really good question.
Right. And I got one more for you, and then I know we can go back into since I see you're successful with your box content. Mike says, for a replenishable item when using variable MSKU, when the message comes up about the ASIN already being in your inventory, what's the best choice of buttons to select, since the MSKU isn't going to be an exact match each time?
If it's going to be a replenishment, even if you have that custom MSKU tool on, it's going to be the same MSKU that you used before. So the reason that we do that, because Amazon kind of frowns upon having multiple MSKUs for the same ASIN. So you don't want to do that. The only time that you want to use a different MSKU for the same ASIN is if it's the same product, but a different condition, different size, different color, or maybe you listed it, FBA before, now you want to list it merchant fulfilled. That would also require a different MSKU. But if you're replenishing something, it needs to remain that same MSKU. That's the one thing that really can't change with Amazon. Yeah, you want to steer clear of that. They don't like that.
Yep. Yeah. And in fact, if you do that, and if you do have multiple MSKUs, a lot of times Amazon will hide some of your listings on Amazon. Like one time I made a different MSKU for one particular item because they were all different colors, and Amazon only showed one of them on the first page of the product listings and put the rest of them on the last page, even though they were all priced at the same time. So Amazon will hide your inventory from the search results if you do try to use this multiple MSKU strategy.
Yeah, I always just say, just don't poke the bear. Just don't poke. So we're actually in my account now, because I do want to be able to touch on some other things. And please know that Jeff and I are in it for the long haul to answer your questions. But we're going to talk about another opportunity that we're going to have to get together as well. But I do want to look at some other major components of InventoryLab, so you can get just a nice kind of feel for the layout, and something kind of like a little bit beyond listing. We usually spend a lot of time on listing, and because that's when everybody comes in. I mean, that's the fun part. Who doesn't want to do that? But there's all the other parts as well. So let's take a look at that. We're going to look at FBA Inventory. So your InventoryLab account is syncing with Seller Central several times throughout the day. Each time that occurs, that your timestamp is going to update right here. Always a good idea just to kind of take a look at that. Going back to folks that are replenishing items, we can see how many replenishments, like how many times have you replenished that item, is going to appear here as well. And this is also where you're going to do things like account for multiple buy costs. Just because you pay one buy cost for an item when you originally, sourced it, maybe it's different the next time. Maybe you had maybe it was family day at Ollie's and you had a 15% off coupon. You need to be able to account for those multiple buy costs. That's all going to take place here as well. Accounting, of course, all of your sales are going to be accounted for here. And because you have your cost per unit plugged in, and InventoryLab is accounting for all of those fees assessed by Amazon, we're able to see, going over to the right, there's that net profit, that profit percentage, and that ROI percentage. With everything accounted for, everything's in there, that's what that ROI percentage is for that sale. All of your refunds that are processed by Amazon are going to be found on the refunds page, as well as your reimbursements. But I'm going to jump down to other expenses. So InventoryLab is importing for you automatically. I mean, all of like your long-term storage fees, 30-day storage fees, your Amazon Pro Seller subscription fees. Lots of these fees are going to be imported for you automatically. But this is also where you're going to plug in all of your other expenses. And I'm telling you, I mean, I love listing in InventoryLab, but this is where the power of InventoryLab comes into play when it comes to leveraging this and growing your business. Plugging everything in here. I'm just going to click this add button right up here. So if you purchased a full-time FBA course, if you attended a conference, if you had to buy a bunch of tape, if you had some weird office expense, whatever the case may be, you're going to plug that in here. We've got a bunch of common categories that are already here. You can make up your own if you want to. What date do you want that accounted for? What's the amount? What's the brief description? Do you want it to be repeated? So if you have a subscription to Be Cool or to Informed or Repricer, you can have that accounted for every month. So you're not having to come back in and do that over and over and over again. But it is so, so, so important to get all this stuff plugged in. Instead of having it piecemealed like all over the place, getting it centralized, because you want to get that to reports. This is where all of that data is going to come together. I could just say from my own experience, when I started out, I knew money was going out, I knew money was coming in, but I did not know where I stood as a business. And I definitely didn't know what was working for my business and what wasn't. And that's where those profitability reports are going to come in. What supplier is working for your business? What category are you doing better in than others? What ASIN's really working? But we want to get down to profit and loss. This is the ultimate goal. I'm actually going to change this so we can see something a little bit more interesting since it's very early in the year. So everything that I've done up until this point, all of those fees that I accounted for, all my buy costs, all of those fees InventoryLab brings in for me, all of my sales, all of my income, all of my other income that I could have also accounted for, all of that's going to be found here, because we want to get you down to here on the right-hand side, your net profit. This is your net profit. This is where you stand as a business, not when an invoice comes in, not when like, well, I know I'm going to have to account for that. I'm not really sure because these fees, and we'll see how it shakes out in the wash at the end. No, this is where you stand as a business. You know where you stand. And even if that number is not where you want it to be yet, I can tell you that there is a lot of value in the knowing what the number is, knowing if you're headed in the right direction. I have said before, I really feel very strong. That was the difference between me having a hobby of selling online and me being an entrepreneur, knowing where I stood as a business. I don't think you can really self-identify as an entrepreneur until you kind of are able to know that and kind of get a handle on it. It's just so important. If you do it with InventoryLab, if you do it with another tool, if you've got a spreadsheet at home, please bring all that information together, centralize it, get to that number. I want more of this type of entrepreneur out in the world. I believe so much in the e-commerce community, and I'm really excited to see what everybody's going to be doing next. Okay. Any questions that you want me to, or anything you want me to go back and take a look at, Stephen, or do we have any other questions?
I think this is good. I do want to talk about a special bonus that we have to offer, and I also want to give away a copy of one of my courses, and then we're going to have the Q&A time. But if unless you have anything else your presentation. We can go move into that.
Jeff, can you think of anything that we should touch on before we move forward?
Yeah, no, I think it covered pretty much all of it. I mean, the big thing is make sure those costs are entered, especially when you start out getting your inventory pulled into InventoryLab. You want to make sure you get all those costs entered, and there's a way to do that with the import process to make it easy. But then all your reports are going to be more valuable to you.
And that's one of the first things that you want to do, because you haven't been listing in InventoryLab, so how would you be able to have your cost per unit information plugged in? There are ways to do that very quickly, and we can show you how to do that, because as soon as you get those plugged in, they're going to then be accounted for in all of your past sales of that MSKU as well as your future sales of that MSKU. So that means you then also have fully populated profitability reports, your P&L's populated, it's up to date, getting that cost per unit plugged in. And it's not as difficult as one might think. It's we've tried to make it as simple as possible.
One thing I might add too is, before you get too deep into trying to figure it out yourself, reach out to us at support@inventorylab.com. We usually have support hours until most days 10 p.m. Eastern. So try to cover all, schedules for people. So just reach out and we can get you an email back pretty quickly if we're there.
Yeah, the support team at InventoryLab is incredible. The support.inventorylab.com website is incredible. So much stuff. And it's like top notch. I love whenever y'all update your systems, y'all make sure that all the training and website, FAQs and stuff like that, they're all updated, and you make sure that everything is congruent, and it's always really good. In fact, I would say probably 95% of the things people ask me, can I do this on InventoryLab? It's already got a support page on InventoryLab. Support.inventorylab.com to take care of that.
We try to. I know we're all kind of looking at each other right now because we know the plans that we have coming up. And all of us that are responsible for things in the user guide and the videos, we're looking at each other like, oh my, are we going to be able to stay ahead of everything?
Right. Because as the world changes and as Amazon changes and InventoryLab changes, I bet it's a lot to keep on top of, but y'all do a good job.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that. And Jeff and I, we host regular webinars. We just I always kind of put in a couple a month. I don't do them at a regular date and time because we have people on all these different parts of the country, different time zones. But you're free to jump in anytime. We have folks that come in just for the Q&A if you want to. So we're excited about that. You can use our Getting Started tools right here. We have an interactive tool where you kind of help somebody list a product, and it is a fake product, but they take you from starting a new batch, listing it, creating shipments, all the way through to box contents. Lots of great information there. Another walkthrough to take you all through the settings, showing you how you can customize your account to make it work for your business.
Yeah, awesome, good stuff. I'm gonna put my mug back on the screen, and let's see. I'm also going to, hey everybody, I'm also going to take over as the presenter because I've got a screen I want to show you. So let me do that as well. I want to let you know we're going to do some Q&A in just a second. I do want to do a giveaway right now. During most of my webinars, I'll do a giveaway of one of my products, and today I haven't picked a product to give away. I'll just give you the option to choose which one of my courses. If you're curious about my courses, you can go to fulltimefba.com/hour-trainings, and that will give you a list of our courses that we offer on the blog. But what I'm going to do is look through the attendees, and Jeff, if you could give me a number between 1 and 200, that number on my list of webinar attendees will win a free course.
How about 103?
103. All right. So Liz Rubin is the lucky winner of whatever course that you want. So you can reach out to me. There's a contact us form on the Full-Time FBA website. You can go to fulltimefba.com, click on the About button, and it will take you to one of our contact forms where you can contact and tell me, hey, I would like this course for free because I want it on your InventoryLab webinar. And Liz Rubin, congratulations on winning this course, whatever course that you want. And that's awesome. Make sure that.
Congrats, Liz.
Yeah, it's always fun. I'll never forget when I was a kid. When I was in high school, I won tickets to a CNC Music Factory concert, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And it was pretty awesome, the feeling of winning. And so I just love to give away stuff too, because not saying that one of my courses is equal to a CNC Music Factory concert, but does everybody,
Pretty close though.
yeah, exactly. So
I do have a special place in my heart for CNC Music Factory. I am very proud to say.
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Your courses are great, and I don't know if I'd be able to decide, but congratulations, Les Rubin. Good luck with that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Awesome. Well,
Do we
let's
know
get
if they
into.
got that handout, Stephen? Do you know if they got that when they came into the webinar, or where they can find that?
Yeah, if you look on your GoToWebinar control panel, we have a free download for you. In the handout section, there's an InventoryLab workshop notes. Well, why don't you introduce what it is and how they can best use it?
It's just a PDF that we put together with a bunch of links and just some basic information. So, if you want to go find some additional details later, if you want to understand more, we've just put together just some really quick links, like a quick reference guide, just to help you get to what you want faster. You can, of course, always find us on YouTube. Our channel link is there, and also our blog. We don't have a whole lot of like listing types of stuff in our blog. But you can kind of go behind the scenes and meet people of the InventoryLab team and find out more things like that.
Very cool. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, in the handouts section of the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a place where you can download for free an InventoryLab workshop notes PDF, and it'll help you. It'll be a tremendous help for you. But again, fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab is where you sign up. You get a free 1-month trial of InventoryLab, and my honest opinion of InventoryLab, once you start using it, InventoryLab, Scoutify, sourcing app, the Scout capabilities on the InventoryLab, you will wonder how you ever did an Amazon FBA business without it. It is game changing. It is the absolute thing. If I had to pick the number one tool to use in my Amazon FBA business, it would be InventoryLab. And there's second place is a distant second place. That's how much I believe in InventoryLab and how important it is to Amazon FBA success. And so you want to sign up for this, fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab. Troy was asking, I'm not able to see in that Kiba graph where the item sold twice. Troy, if you want a quick little refresher on how to read a Kiba graph, you can go to fulltimefba.com/read Kiba. We give you a free little training video on how to read a Kiba graph and how to be able to count sales and kind of know what to expect when it comes to Kiba. That's just scratching the surface of what is possible with Kiba. So, thanks for asking.
And Stephen is the person to go to. Jeff and I actually did a webinar with Stephen that you would be able to find on the YouTube channel. And Jeff and I knew that we weren't seeing everything in a Kiba graph that we possibly could. And we intentionally did not brush up on our skills prior to the webinar because we wanted to kind of learn with everybody else. And Stephen was like, this is how you find out how many sold in the last 30 days. And this is how you find out how many is going to sell in the next 30 days. And if you watch it, you'll be like, oh, look at Kim. Her mind is blown. I looked back at that and I thought, oh my gosh.
That was a good webinar.
Yeah, it was. It was. But I looked dumbfounded through most of it.
Me too.
Well, I mean, that's, I think, everyone's first experience with learning the information you can have from Kiba. I mean, the first time I learned it, my jaw was on the floor, but like, this information is actually here. I can actually, know the sales velocity of an item. I can actually use the past to predict pretty consistently the future of what to expect when it comes to sales rank and pricing. And so, it's a lot of fun. It's not an exact science, but we found a way to increase our projections, the success of our projections pretty well with Kiba. So,
speaking of velocity, that is one of those functionalities in InventoryLab that we did not cover today. Is you're able to track when you have a replenishment. You're able to say how many lead time days you need and add it to your velocity report and see the date that you need to begin that replenishment process so that you don't go out of stock or go overstock. So that tool is also there as well. And there is a link to that in that handout, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I think there is too. LC was saying, how can we ensure that our products and inventory will remain private? Does the InventoryLab's agreement include some type of non-compete on your end?
Absolutely. And it is on our website. If you go down, you can look at all of the ins and outs of all of that down there. And that's actually why I use my my actual InventoryLab account for transparency purposes. There are a couple of us, I think there's only 3 of us on the team that are sellers. We were sellers before we joined InventoryLab, but we maintain very, very small InventoryLab businesses because for that reason specifically. But yes, we do not share information. Data is probably our most valuable commodity within our company. It is under lock and key and is not shared in any way, shape, or form. Even membership, like who is a user, who's not a user, we do not disclose under any circumstances. But you can review all of that on our website, InventoryLab.com.
Yep. And we appreciate the integrity with that, so that's really good. So a few people have been asking, okay, say I'm at Target and I buy an item for $5, and then the next day I find an item from Walmart and I got it for $7, but it's the exact same UPC that I'm using. It's the exact same item. How do you handle that when you're listing on through InventoryLab?
That is a really good question. And so that would be accounting for multiple buy costs. I kind of mentioned that just a little bit before.
Right.
So when you're listing your item, remember that little box that would pop up where InventoryLab would say like, hey, this already exists in your inventory. You would, if that buy cost is different, you would plug that in at that point. InventoryLab creates what we call right now a sub MSKU. And so that means if you buy a quantity of 10 at that first buy cost, and then you purchase a quantity of 15 at that second buy cost, InventoryLab applies the FIFO accounting method, first in, first out. So as the first 10 sell, InventoryLab is going to use that first buy cost in the accounting in that sale. When that quantity is exhausted, InventoryLab starts applying the next buy cost that's in line until that quantity is exhausted. So it's not unusual to have dozens and dozens of sub MSKUs under an MSKU specifically to be able to account for those multiple buy costs and suppliers. That second quantity that you sourced was not from Target, it was from Walmart. So you want to be able to see that data reflected in your supplier profitability report, because maybe next time if you find out you're doing better at Walmart than Target, you'll know to kind of maybe shift to some additional time sourcing at Walmart instead of Target. So all of those things can be accounted for separately and very important to do. That's a great question.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that I wasn't even aware until recently about that function. And it's been good making sure your numbers are right. And like you said, knowing your numbers can change the game. You want to make sure your numbers are actually accurate.
But even if you have, if you have multiple quantities right now and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I'm not listing the item. I already have a quantity of 15. You're able to split that MSKU to account for those multiple buy costs. And we can certainly cover that when we get together in February. That's actually on the list of things that we talked about that we are going to want to cover. There might be a link in the handout for that, so you can kind of start to get a feel for what that would look like. But it's simply clicking an MSKU, and it'll say like you have a quantity of 25. How many do you want to split? Well, I want to split 15 out of that because I paid a different amount for that 15, and then you assign that buy cost for the 15, and then you have your original buy cost applying to that first 10. So you're able to do that with your existing inventory. You're able to do that with inventory that's being shipped in the same box at the same time. If you have the same MSKU but you have different buy costs for quantities, all sorts of ways to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I love that functionality and the options for that. Michael says, Kim mentioned setting minimum and maximum prices. Is InventoryLab a repricer tool also, or do we need another service for the repricing?
We are not a repricer tool. So if you're using the Amazon repricer, you can have that information, that data included in what we send to Amazon. But we are integrated with BeCool and Informed. So if you are a subscriber to BeCool and Informed, you can turn on the integration in your account. And what we're going to do is make your buy cost data available to them. So you don't have to plug it in InventoryLab and then also plug it in over there. But because you're also plugging in your minimum and maximum prices, there are export functions that you can use to export that data and then import it into BCool. So you don't have to duplicate that process as well. So we're not a repricer, but because folks really found it useful to set those min and max prices while they're listing, while all that data is right there in front of them, we wanted to put that in there so that they didn't have to do that after the fact and then come back to InventoryLab and research more and look and scout. And it just saved time when folks were able to put it in right there.
Right. And so while InventoryLab is not a repricer, it still saves you time when it comes to using a repricer. I know you can, I personally, I use BCool. And if you want to get, if you want to try out BCool, you can go to fulltimefba.com/BQOOL. They spell BCool pretty funny. But bcool.com, BQOOL, and find out about that. But I remember the main reason I never started using an automatic repricer was because I would have to re-enter my buy cost. I would have to re-enter minimum maximum prices. And I now with BCool can just go and with one click of a button sync InventoryLab with BCool, and my buy costs are synced. And then I can go in and upload a file from InventoryLab to BCool to be able to set my minimum and maximum. And it was a game changer. I mean, using BCool, my sales doubled in the month, and from like the first half of the month to the second half of the month, it doubled. And this was not during Q4, so that's not the excuse. But I absolutely love that option, and it just made it. InventoryLab, when you sign up for InventoryLab and you start using it, multiple times a year, you're going to get a message about how it's gotten even better than before, and you're going to be so happy that you've used it. And it's pretty awesome because I mean I've got hundreds of items in my InventoryLab. I did not want to enter in hundreds of times my buy cost, my min cost, my max cost, and this is y'all just keep making selling on Amazon easier. So thank you for that.
we just look for ways to if anything's redundant, we want to get rid of it. That's not good use of anybody's time. And
Right.
It took us a while though to be able to add that functionality. We wanted to be able to do it within the app, but then we Informed and BCool are already doing that so well, and it just made more sense instead of adding that functionality in our app to be able to. It's just healthier for a business, to not have it all kind of wrapped up into one product, but to have this like maybe BCool doesn't work out for you. You can switch over to Informed or whatever you want to do, as opposed to like having to deal with it because it's all in the same tool. So we decided to go in that direction instead, and it's really worked out well. I'm really happy the way it was rolled out and introduced.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Someone asked, when I sign up for InventoryLab the first time, will it take all of my previous inventory, sales, etc. info, or will it start gathering data from the point when I first signed up?
Great question. Jeff, you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah. When you first sign up on the trial, we'll go back 60 days in your Amazon account. We'll sync all of your inventory, but we'll only do the last 60 days because that's kind of what Amazon limits us to at the moment. But once you're a subscriber, then we can give you instructions on how to manually set those so that we can sync all of your data. And you may not want to have all of it in there. You may say just want 2018 going forward. Well, we can show you how to take care of that so that we sync just that amount in, or we can sync all of it in. So there are ways to do that. But sure, yeah, you can sync all of that in.
But all of their active and inactive inventory is imported, and then 60 days of accounting data, correct?
Right, yeah. Inventory-wise, it's everything, but it's just the sales transactions that are 60 days. So your reports are only going to go back 60 days of information. That's just to kind of give you an idea of what the application can do.
But after that, when upgrading then to that paid account, historical data, it's game on. Whatever you want to be able to import in with a few clicks, InventoryLab is then able to import all that in for you. Yeah.
So when you do subscribe, make sure you shoot us an email, and then we can give you the instructions on how to do that. Otherwise, it'll stay just the last 60 days going forward.
Yeah, and if you're new to Amazon, I highly recommend signing up for InventoryLab because you want to make sure you have all your information entered in and recorded and tracked from the start. if you're not new to Amazon, I think January is the best time to start InventoryLab because you can have a full year. You only have a couple weeks to go back and update previous information, but you have like the rest of the year so that all your information, when it comes to making sure you know your numbers and understand your numbers, are all set up the right way and recorded and tracked and calculated and crunched for you so that you can better understand your business. So I think right now is a really great time to start your Amazon business. But when it comes to the end of the year, a few people have been asking, how does InventoryLab help with year-end calculations? Maybe sometimes for tax purposes too.
Yeah, so usually folks want the profit and loss report, and they want their inventory valuation report at the end of the year. So your inventory valuation is your your on hand and inbound inventory's value in buy cost. And so everything that's in your inventory. The thing with that though, it is a snapshot that's taken every day. And it's actually one of the only areas in InventoryLab that's not retroactive. So if you don't have your buy cost plugged in on, January, whatever, if you plug it in down the road and you go back and you look at your inventory valuation report, for January 23rd, that data is not going to be there. So that's why it's so important as soon as you get into InventoryLab and you get your account set up. One of the first things, I always say, go list something because that's the fun stuff. But when that's done, get those buy costs plugged in because you want to get that snapshot of that inventory valuation report every day. So people usually will export that, and they'll export their profit and loss report for tax purposes. And I've heard accountants love it. Sometimes, depending on your business, maybe that's all you need. But either way, it contributes a lot. It saves a lot of time when it comes to taxes, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to add anything to that, Jeff? You're our in-house accounting expert.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, you've covered it pretty much. It's we have a lot of customers that find that really they don't need to have QuickBooks or any other accounting program. They just use the profit and loss. And if they're on a hybrid tax system or an accrual system, then they'll use that inventory valuation. But if you're on cash basis, you don't even need that report, just the profit and loss.
Yep, good to know. I've got a few questions about declining shipments. Someone asked, what happens when I decline a shipment? And someone else was asking, I thought it was against Amazon's rules to decline shipments. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so declining, that's a really good question because there's a lot of confusion when Amazon kind of came out later on and said, they were really kind of cracking down on that. So we worked very closely with them and to say like, okay, well, this is how we're working things here. We need your assurance that this is going to be okay. So here's where we are. You are able to decline a shipment because at this point, you have not accepted those shipment plans. So the same thing as it is in Seller Central. Once that plan is accepted, you can make changes, but you can only make changes, remember, within those parameters, the 5% or quantity of 10 in either direction. So what they're really after with that is people manipulating the system. So you would have people that didn't like, they would have that one shipment that only had a few MSKUs and they wanted to send everything to one fulfillment center. So they would reduce the quantity, in one shipment and then increase it in another in order to manipulate the system. So if they are seeing any kind of behavior that looks like the intent is to manipulate those shipments, they don't want that. They've really perfected 2-day shipping, and they know what they're doing. So when they route stuff to fulfillment centers, it's to be able to make sure that their customers are receiving that merchandise within 2 days. So you can make those changes within 5% or 10. You can delete something entirely, but with those shipments declining, you can absolutely decline the shipment entirely. And that is not outside of those parameters because that is not yet an accepted plan. It's still a proposed shipment plan at that point.
Yeah, it's just if you create all of your shipments and you have to delete one for any reason, then you need to delete all of the shipments in there and start over. Otherwise, Amazon may contact you. But yeah, if you decline, it's fine.
Yeah.
Does this work in both live and private or just private?
So that big differentiating factor that I was kind of talking about with private and live, but private batch, the metaphor or analogy I use, you want to think of like a private batch, like you're writing an email to Amazon. You're like, dear Amazon, I have these products and I have these, quantities, and I got this one and I got this one. And you look it over, you're like, oh, I made a mistake here, or oh, I want to change that. And when it's perfect, you click send. And then Amazon immediately comes back and says, okay, we want you to route it here, here, and here. So with a live batch, that's more like a live conversation with Amazon, where you're like face to face and you say, I have 65 of this item. And they immediately say, we want you to send 50 of them here and 15 of them over here. So the benefit to that is you're able to pack while you're listing, because you know immediately where things are going to be routed. So it's really beneficial if you're listing a high quantity of items. So, but when they come back immediately with, we want you to send, 50 here and 15 over here, that right there is the point at which it is proposed. So you can unclick that 15 and only accept the shipment that has 50. So it's a little bit different. And that's why we kind of really encourage folks to use that private batch. It's like a guided tour. You're on the list page, you're on the review batch page, you're on the FBA shipments page, you're on the box contents page. A live batch, basically everything happens on one page. You're just there on that list and prep page. You're boxing everything on the list, like everything happens there. And so if you decline a shipment that has a quantity of 15, the next item that you list, maybe they're going to say that fulfillment center again, and you can't go back now to that other 15. So it's really when you kind of get a feel for it and you get a flow for it. And if it fits your business to list in a live batch, you want to go in that direction. So yes, you still have that flexibility, but not quite as much as you would in a private batch.
I love that analogy of the email versus the conversation. I'm totally going to borrow that. I'll try to remember to give you credit. I love that description because that's exactly perfect. And we always do ours in private, just because I always feel like when I do it in private, it sends it to fewer fulfillment centers. And while I love the fact that Amazon wants my inventory spread out to different fulfillment centers, and honestly, anyone listening to this, you want your inventory at different fulfillment centers too, because the more spread out your inventory is, the more likely you're going to get the buy box, because you're going to be closer to the customer who is requesting that item.
And that is factually actually one of the disadvantages to a live batch, that they will be sent to more fulfillment centers than a private batch. So you'll usually end up spending a little bit more in shipment costs. And while you do want it spread around, as opposed to having it all just go to one, private, you might have 3 fulfillment centers, whereas in a live batch, maybe it's going to be routed to 5 fulfillment centers. So again, that's going to be one of those things, like if it fits your business, does that change your profit margin for that, that batch? If that's a big hit, then that's not for you. You want to stay in a private batch. I don't see it happen so much, but definitely as you get closer to Q4, you'll start to see multiple fulfillment centers coming out of live batches for sure, because they want everything to be able to easily get shipped to customers.
Yep, definitely. And before we get into some more questions, if you go to fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab, sign up for InventoryLab, a month free trial, which once you try it, you're going to get hooked. Vicky was asking what happens to what happens to items when they're declined from a shipment? Are they added to a different shipment, or do I need to list them again from scratch later?
Good question. You want to take that one, Jeff?
Sure, yeah. If you don't create the shipment, then those items don't get added, and so you would have to list them in another batch later on to send them in. So for instance, in your batch, you listed 10 and say 8 of them will go in one place and 2 of them will go into another, and you decided not to send the 2 in. You'd only have 8 showing that were actually sent. So you'd need to list those other 2.
Yep, good answer. Danny was asking, how do I enter an item into Scoutify if it has no barcode? For example, a book.
You can search by not just UPC, but you can type in a keyword, you can type in a title. If I'm looking for like a certain type of shampoo that maybe isn't showing with the UPC, I'll be like Pantene, I don't know, Extra Shine, something like that. And it will pull up multiple listings that have those words that appear in the title. And I can scroll through, okay, like here's the item that I was looking for information on, tap that, and then it takes you to that screen. Same thing with Scout. If you know, I could type, like I'm a big fan of Pioneer Woman. I don't know if anybody buys Pioneer Woman, that line that's available at Walmart. I love all of her things. And they're also actually, just a hot tip, they are also very good for sourcing purposes. I do love the Pioneer Woman because she brings out new lines twice per year and discontinues the previous line. Well, the thing is with those lines, all of the pieces match. The butter dish, the tablecloth, everything matches. So people want those pieces after they've been discontinued. So if you are retail arbitrage, you want to check out Pioneer Woman. But you can type in Pioneer Woman, and it's going to pull up listings of the Pioneer Woman. You can scroll through to see which one it is you're looking for more information on.
Yeah, and the search even works like searching your own specific FNSKU, you know, or your own specific MSKU. You know, if you have that information, that also works when searching for the item on Amazon. I found out. Someone's asking, Lisa asked, how do I get the expiration reminder to work?
Say that one more time.
How do I get the expiration reminder to work? Or how does the expiration reminder work?
Sure. You want to take that one, Jeff?
Sure. So when you enter a date in the expiration field for a unit or an item that has an expiration date, we'll automatically set a reminder for 60 days prior to that date as kind of a reminder. And then you'll notice that the notification for those reminders is on the little envelope icon at the top right of your screen, just to the left of where your name is. You click there, you can go to the reminders page, and then you can scroll down and see the reminder there and also the upcoming reminders. If you don't have a expiration date on an item, you can still use that reminder field for any kind of reminder you might want, and it'll show up as a notification up there.
Yep.
Good question.
Let's see. Danny says, what happens if I didn't notice the restriction warning and I sent those items to Amazon that I'm not approved for? And Danny, I know that if you do that, it'll just show up in your stranded inventory, and you'll just have to send it back to yourself. My suggestion, if you do ever send something that you're not approved for, and I know sometimes you send stuff to Amazon and you are approved for it, but at the time it gets there, a restriction has been added to your account.
Yep.
Go ahead and try to, apply for approval, because sometimes you can, because of your sales history and your customer service history and your metrics, you might get auto approved for a restricted brand or item or whatever, and so you might be able to fix it that way. But if not, you can just have it sent back to your just open up a removal order for that.
I can say that how InventoryLab has actually really recently saved my hide. We had sent box content information, how that little window popped up and said, like, hang tight, we're going to just have Amazon validate this. Well, my husband was listing, and I mean, it doesn't really speak highly of me as the customer learning and development coordinator, but he did not wait for that validation to come back. So I'm just kind of, he's on his way to Staples to drop the shipment off, and I'm just kind of popping by the laptop, and I see the red box that that there's an error, that there's an item that requires an expiration date and one had not been added. I was like, oh my word. But because I had box content information on, I turned that on when I started the batch, I could go back and edit my box content information. I could add that expiration date and then transmit the new updated box content information and replace the old data. So before, that would have gotten to a fulfillment center and would have been stranded. I would have to have it brought all the way back and then relist it. But I was able to get him on the phone, and he had to open that box in Staples and give me the information that I needed so I could plug in that expiration date to avoid that. But so yeah, you always kind of want to just give it a second, wait for that information to come back to make sure everything's on the up and up, and you won't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how convenient to be at a place that sells packing tape to repack something.
Right.
Let's see. Kenny was asking about is filling out box content in InventoryLab necessary? I work with a prep center, so that would be setting up box content when prepping would be from someone else.
No, you don't need to. When you start the batch, you don't even need to include that in your workflow if you don't want to. But folks that work with prep and ship companies, what they usually do remember when I went to the review batch page and I clicked submit and that little window popped up and said, okay, we're going to send all this information to Amazon. You're ready to send these feeds and create FBA shipments. Are you ready to move forward? And I was kind of like, well, yes, I am. What prep and ship company folks would do, you're able to unclick that box that says create FBA shipments, because a lot of times folks want to list the stuff, but then have the prep and ship company handle everything after that. So you can transmit all of that data and not create the shipments, and then have all the information needed for the prep and ship company so that they can then take care of everything from that point forward. So it's a, kind of cuts off that workflow right there in the middle. Or you can create the shipments if you want to and just not include the box contents in there. Lots of flexibility, and a lot of prep and ship companies are familiar with InventoryLab, and they have certain ways that they like to do it. So we kind of put things in place so that you can kind of work with them for whatever works best for you and your inventory.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
I think so. I think you did. Yeah. Angela asked, does your InventoryLab expense automatically show up in your accounting?
It does not. Good question.
Yep.
So Jeff and I, we go to a lot of the conferences that InventoryLab sponsors. One of our favorite things to do is to sit down with people and have one-on-ones. Like tell us about your business. Let's take a look at your account together and see what you're not using that you should be. And I inevitably will go to that other expenses section to see, like, where have you accounted for the cost to attend this conference? I'm not seeing your InventoryLab,
Right.
So accounted for here. So we need to make sure we get that taken care of. But we don't put that there automatically because we can't assume that folks want to account for it there. So we don't want to do that for them. But yes, you want to plug that in, but you can have that accounted for automatically. So you can say, even retroactively, account for this going all the way back to whatever month, so you don't got to do it one by one or anything like that. But
yeah, and then charge me monthly.
If I had a dime for every time I sat down with somebody.
Jenna was asking, is there a way to add your shipping cost for fulfilled by merchant for items that were sold and you did not input any information, but you want to keep all records straight instead of having to input shipping fees for fulfilled by merchant one at a time? I guess she's asking, is the fulfilled by merchant shipping fees included?
Yes.
In what is drawn or automatically?
So for FBA, that is found under your inbound shipping expenses. So that's accounted for, and it has its own page actually. But for merchant fulfilled sales, the shipment cost is included in the sale details for each merchant fulfilled shipment.
Yep.
Anything you want to add? Did I cover that, Jeff? I feel like there's something else.
We will automatically take care of that as long as it comes out of the settlement. But if you're purchasing it on your own outside of Amazon, then you need to manually add that in.
Yep. A couple people have asked if InventoryLab syncs with QuickBooks.
I love that question. No, it doesn't. That's actually a common request and something that we're actively looking at. But coincidentally, there's a fantastic woman. Her name is Cindy Thomason. She is with Bookskeep, and she today actually is the launch of her new book, Profit First for E-commerce Sellers. It's the next book in the line from Profit First. And I did a webinar with her really recently. You can find it in our YouTube channel, where she says that she feels very strongly that tools like InventoryLab should not be integrated with QuickBooks or Xero. And I was really surprised to hear that. So I was interested to do that webinar with her. And so she talks about that in depth, why she thinks that should not be the case. But it's a common request. Folks really would like to be able to see that happen. But currently, no, we're not integrated.
Yeah, and I've Kimberly has introduced me to knowing about Cindy, and I've been looking into, you sent me a webinar link. I've watched about half of it. I still plan on watching the rest of it, and I'm looking forward to her book and checking that out. And I'll get back with all the full-time FBA people from what I learned from that, and we can learn more about that in the future. Mark says, when pulling reports from InventoryLab, can I choose specific dates, or does it only show me the current information?
You want to take that one, Jeff?
Sure. So you can set it up to use one of the preset periods for most reports, or you can do a custom period, say from, January 1, 2016 to maybe, December 31st, 2016, if you wanted to see that. So we make it pretty customizable. We do have the presets in there for, the last day or last 60 days or that sort of thing. And most of the reports default to the last 30 days, but there's usually an advanced button on the page. And if you click that, you can customize your search period.
Yeah, that's for all your sales. You can say, show me the sales for the last 6 months, show me all the sales, all your profitability reports, your P&L report. You pull it up, it'll be like, here's your P&L report for the last 30 days, but you can change it to whatever you'd like. Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
Hey, Steven, I was wondering,
yes.
did you notice the addition of, we recently built in the option to sort all the columns on all the pages in the app. And that kind of like slipped by some people that that's there, but it's been very helpful to be able to have all of those sortable columns, especially when it comes to things like cost per unit, getting that stuff put in. You're like, I don't know which items I still need to add cost per unit to. Well, you can just sort that column and get the ones that don't have buy cost, like at the top. It's really handy. But that's a pretty recent addition. I mean, a lot of our columns were sortable, but now all the columns are sortable.
That's cool. I had no idea that was an option because that's again, InventoryLab keeps improving so often and adding new little features that some of them will slip by. Yeah. This InventoryLab is amazing, and if you go to fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab, you can sign up for it free 30-day or 1-month trial, and it will revolutionize your Amazon FBA business, save you so much time, help you make better decisions that will help you make more money and grow your business. And again, this is the #1 tool that I would pick if I had to list every tool in existence to man to help your Amazon business. This right up there is #1, InventoryLab, which also includes like Scoutify. Like if I had to pick between InventoryLab and Scoutify, of which I like better, that would be a tough decision. But since it's all together with one price, then I don't have to make that decision. So don't make me make that decision.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing webinars. And again, fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab to find out more about it. And if you sign up for a full year, you get to save some money if you sign up for a full year up front. Anything else y'all like to say about InventoryLab or Scoutify or anything like that before we head out?
I just had a great time. We've got a year coming up. We've got big plans, and just very much of the same. Looking for ways to improve, and we're learning a lot from our customers. Is where it all comes from. We learn from you, what you need, what's going on in your life that that keeps you up at night, and we look for solutions for that. So we hope to have a big 2019 coming.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you have a suggestion after using our applications for a little bit, feel free to send those to us, because that's how the improvements get added. We send those to the developers and they look at them and go through them all, and that's how it gets added to the application. So we encourage that.
That's awesome. I love how you actually do listen to your customers, and everything keeps getting better and better. InventoryLab keeps getting better. Scoutify keeps getting better. I love the Scoutify sourcing app and all the tools. I mean, I just can't. I gush over this product, and I need to stop. Okay, I just can't help myself sometimes. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this webinar, and thanks for hanging out with us. It's an honor when you take time out of your busy schedule to hang out on a webinar talking about tools that can help you make your Amazon business that much better. And hopefully you found value in this. Well, my voice is about to give. I don't know about you. So we're going to stop the recording. And again, any questions, reach out to me, Facebook, or the contact us form at fulltimefba.com. And stop just messing around with your Amazon business. Take things seriously and sign up for InventoryLab. fulltimefba.com/InventoryLab. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate you stopping by.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Steven.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.